on YouTube right now, then it's happened.
All right, we're gonna make it happen here.
Have we made it happen? Are we streaming?
Usually takes a second to catch up. We're gonna find out.
Yep, we're doing something.
Yep, here we go.
Okay, well, we're not actually playing the game anymore. But
Because you're trying to do it on your laptop and run a stream.
it's a
across
gaming
two
laptop.
continents.
It's a gaming laptop. I'm not going to say which one it is now, but it should have at least had the power. And it has had the power before, because this is not the first time I've run a stream and played the game. So, you know, maybe it's probably a good point to say I'm not very good at it. Maybe it's saving me from embarrassment. Anyway, I'm not important really. It's not.
So you're gonna have to do a completely separate live stream of just you playing the game,
Right.
so that we can have the experience of Fran playing Crime Boss.
I'm not.
Absolutely.
I'm not the reason that people are here for this stream anyway. Like, I mean, like, honestly, if people are here to see me look bad, then they need to go watch something else. Like, there are YouTube channels dedicated to fail streams, right? You know, people are here to, you know, or they were here to watch some bad fails, but also they're here because we have a special guest. We've got our very own Nasara here in the box next to me. over here. Mr. Damion Poitier. I'm really sorry, I can't say your surname right, and every time I try and say it, I just offend myself and probably you at the same time.
I have heard every variation, so don't even worry about it.
So is my variation a new one or a very old one?
No, it's pretty close. Yeah, it's Poitier is the proper pronunciation.
Poitier.
Poitier. Yep.
I'm getting better.
Nailed it. There you go.
Yeah, excellent. I'm glad I've eventually nailed it. I'll introduce myself because that's something I forgot to do. I'm Crime Boss Community Manager. With me in the far side box over there.
I'm Jason Ryan, and I am a Senior Community Manager over here at 505 Games, and I am in our office in the United States. So we are cross ocean.
It is. We're global.
Very definition of crossplay.
Yes.
We're a global team. Yeah, we're here to have a wonderful chat, Damion. And all topics are on the cards, I think, because, you know, Damion isn't just known for playing the legendary Nasara. You're into cool stuff as well. And he has a horse.
Gotta keep it.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
Gotta keep it varied. You know, try to keep my interest wide and expansive. Learning all the time.
Yeah.
And then hopefully as people join in the chat, they can ask questions as well. We'll relay those questions across as they come to us.
Yeah, so and hello to Donut Mario. That's the best name for a Mario.
Says hello, Damion. I mean this song.
We're doing Donut Mario.
I really want Donut now.
That's a cool.
It's a good one, isn't it?
All right, that, you know, maybe the next Nintendo Direct, Donut Mario is going to be the big game they announce.
Yeah.
So is that like a donut in place of the circle with Ghostbusters 2 with Mario like going like I'm trying to think what's the logo here?
Absolutely. Well, here I'll kick off the questions for Crime Boss. So, Damion, I know you also helped with the writing on Crime Boss, and so when you first got approached by the game, before it was even called Crime Boss, I think, and you started thinking about the story and the characters, was there a character in particular that you were excited to flesh out?
Honestly, like all of them are very exciting in different ways. Some because they're more challenging, and others because they're, it's like, oh, we haven't had a chance to play with something like this before. In terms of figuring out who they are, where they come from, why they're in Rockay City, all those things. So it's like, from Stinger was a lot of fun to really kind of put some English behind you, like, okay, why is he like that? What's his story? How he got there? Like I said, all of them, like, I had a lot of fun with X. Like, all of them were very, very fun to look at the world they're in, figure out where they came from and how they would get into that world and why they were there and what was their motivation for being involved in that specifically. So good times were had.
Now, you said that some of the characters were really challenging. Which was one of the most challenging characters?
Some of the Eastern European ones, because I had to do a lot of research to kind of get into what the backstory would be of how that they would, first of all, travel, international travel. Thankfully, Southern Florida was a melting pot of criminality and just like insane things going on. So it wasn't too difficult once I kind of put together the person's circumstance. But just finding out more about them, where they would be, like how truly insane the 90s were in the 80s leading up to the 90s to build the character into that space.
Now, so the game is set in the 90s. Was it fun to kind of mentally go back to the 90s?
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know what the 90s were like for you. So, that little bit of time travel, you're like, oh yes, the 90s. Like, was there an element of that era you were excited to bring in?
Absolutely. Just, it's, the 90s were wild. We kind of, we're so like far but not far from it now that it's, look at it was kind of right before the age of, people really saying, hey, you know what? Certain things aren't okay to say. And certain behaviors, are maybe less positive than others and things like that. So there was still a lot of the more classic behaviors going on in terms of how people were interacting with each other. And that was just, especially when you start looking back at it, seeing how we've evolved and how things have changed and what's acceptable and not, you're like, wow, that was like a lot of that stuff didn't fly. Some of it comes out these days. People are being found out about something that all of a sudden is a big deal but and when you're there, it doesn't seem off. And when you look back at it, you're like, that really was, wow. That was something else.
Yeah, the dark side of the past eras is definitely there. So, but let me ask this. So, you end up, you're in the game, you're Nasara, you're writing on the game. Is there difficulty in writing at all for your own character, or is there fun? And is there anything you slipped in for your character? Like, yeah, I really want to say.
It was really actually a lot of fun because, I had the being there for the inception of the character and the total build. I had a lot. My input was greatly appreciated, and I got to do a lot of things that I wanted to do with the character. So there was. I don't want to spoil, so I'm not sure what's been in yet, what hasn't. There's some personal aspects of the character.
I was gonna say, just definitely play it safe.
Right, I know. I'm gonna play it safe. Yeah, but there are things for the character, like how his backstory evolved and things like that. There are a lot of things that were just really fun and really informed why he speaks like that, why he dresses like that. Everything that Nasara does comes from there's a space for all of it. There's a place, and it's like, how do I want to be, and how do I get there? So I got to do the whole roundabout of, this is what I want. How do you get there organically? How does it make sense to have a character be in that space? And so it was, yeah, I know I'm talking very broadly, but I'm trying not to spoil it.
That's all right. That's all right.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have one thing that we know. If anyone's looked at the the Rockay's roadmap, one of the DLCs that are coming in the future is called Nasara's Revenge. So we do know that there's going to be something interesting with Nasara in the future. So, you know, it'll be very interesting to see how his story does progress, especially within that paid DLC that's coming. It'll be next year at some point, but so there's definitely a lot to Nasara that we don't know about yet.
Absolutely.
But exciting stuff.
Okay, so we've got some Nasara coming up. So let me ask a hypothetical. If you were writing a book about Nasara's like early days as like an up and coming gangster, what's an element you would put into that book?
His early days weren't criminal.
Yeah.
They weren't. He ended up in the crime.
Oh.
A series of unfortunate events.
Oh, I like this. Yeah.
I want to see a series of Nasara's unfortunate events now. Maybe far in the future we can do some Nasara flashback DLC. Where we see him falling into this world.
I'd be up for making some short films about that.
Right?
Yeah.
No, it's a fun journey to go from where he went to where he is. And if you like, this is a restart to Nasara 2. This isn't even his. I'm gonna stop talking before I spoil something. But yeah, he's been on a few journeys, and this is just the latest.
Interesting. So he is a man of an interesting past.
Oh yeah, he has a very, very complicated, interesting past.
And I guess, you know, in the future we'll find out even more, you know, so exciting stuff.
I know I was asked if there's any new heists coming up, and you kind of said that there is DLC for in the future, so there definitely do seem to be new heists coming up.
Yeah, there will be. You know, we take on a lot of feedback from the community, so you know, watch the space. We are addressing a lot of the things that the community are asking for. You know, but these things do take time, so you know, there'll be, you know, like Jason just said, there's going to be DLCs, there's going to be updates. I would say check out the Rockay's roadmap, which is on. I've posted it on like Twitter, and it's also on the website, which is visit rockaycity.com. Just have a look, you know, talk to us, you know, you can find us all on Discord and everything, so you know, have a chat to us. We'll give you lots of information, but yeah, you know, there will be more stuff. You know, definitely more stuff, so don't worry.
So kind of going back to the inspiration writing thing, are there movies that you feel kind of, or TV shows that kind of help inspire some of the ideas within Rockay City? You know, heist movies or crime, or not even, you know, crime related at all, just sort of like 90s. Are there anything like that that you think maybe helped inform some of the writing?
Oh yeah, I had Miami Vice playing in the background like a lot of the time I was writing, because that's right before these events. So kind of looking at the fictional feel of Miami right before we get into this was instrumental in helping me try to inform where and when I came from the characters. Obviously, you know, 80s and 90s action movies, because again, coming into the 90s, you're coming out of the 80s action movies, and there's a progression. So being able to watch those movies and kind of, you know, keep them on the background and follow the progression of, okay, if that's what's happening then, this is where we're going now. And again, like the amazing, so many beautiful gravy action movies in the 90s. It was so many things to choose from, so many crazy things. You know, obviously when you look at the different people we have involved, I looked at their libraries, and there's some direct line pulls and some other things we did from things that they've been in. But we were very, very. It's an expansive amount of material to pull from, and we were definitely like, it's just
the late 80s, early 90s was a crazy time for action movies.
Oh yeah, it was
just bonkers. And it was awesome. And Miami Vice. So as a TV show, Miami Vice was amazing because they're like, we get these good guys, but they get to act like bad guys. They get to drive the awesome cars. It was like the best of all worlds in sort of like an anti-hero kind of way. He lives on a boat with a crocodile.
And when you look at some of the stars that are in that are just playing big parts and other things, you're like, whoa! Like there's a lot of big stars that came down through that pipeline.
Yeah, I have to. You know, I think I have to go back and start watching some Miami Vice reruns.
Yes.
And kind of get into it. It was an era.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The 90s in general.
It was one of the first films. Sorry.
No, just talking about the 90s.
Oh, yeah. I found out that Miami Vice was one of the first TV shows to really utilize music, like popular music.
Oh. Yeah.
Like I Can Feel It by Phil Collins.
That became huge.
I mean, that show was built on it, and it built that song was built on the show, and that show was built on the song. So it was a lovely confluence of events that kind of brought those two together and made them both like way bigger than they would have been without the addition of each other. So, and there's a few songs that are classics that actually came through Miami Vice that you know, if you look through, you're like, oh my goodness, that was here? You know, this is where that started? So that was really cool to kind of discover and revisit and you know, kind of learn about.
Crime Boss has got quite a few licensed tracks in it as well. It was you know, you're not expecting some of them either. Was it like, is there Bon Jovi in there, or like I was just like, oh yeah. Just and then you hear the Bomb Funk MCs. It's just like, it's such an eclectic mix of 90s tracks. It's just
that was the 90s, an eclectic mix.
The 90s were an incredibly eclectic mix.
Yeah.
Which is why it's such a fun arena to area to play in.
Someone's just mentioned Prodigy. Yep, there's a remix of Prodigy track in there. So, 90s was a vibe. In all the senses.
It was definitely a good era, I think, to draw from for this game, and I think that for Crime Boss being able to sort of take the fun elements of that, and so Rockay City is sort of its own character within this game. So first of all, in Rockay City, where would you want to, like, assuming you wouldn't get shot by a gang of roaming bandits, well, what's your favorite part of Rockay City? They're like, oh, I'd like to go there, assuming you're not going to get, you know, heisted.
Assuming you're not going to get heisted. I mean, obviously the beaches. You know, you want to hit the beaches. You want to be on beachside cafes and everything like that. That's, you know, that's where it's at. Otherwise, you're locked into skyscrapers and things like that. But the beaches, the shore, you know, the waterline. That's where you want to go, especially because there's, you know, with the ocean and the waves, it's a little more calming, so a little less crime. You know, so it's a slightly safer place to hang out.
Yeah, you know, the crooks are all on the beach with their family. They don't want to.
Right?
Yeah, this is it. I mean, I've walked those downtown streets. I mean, the litter everywhere. Like, honestly. But then, to be honest, City Beach is not much better. I have to say that now. I've roamed those streets.
it'll be very selective in where you hit. But yeah, there's some less public beaches that are a little more, you know. Yeah, so.
Because there's some quite.
If I'm in Rockay, I'm for the beach.
Beaches do look very nice.
So I don't know if you're able to you know, play the game very often. Are you any good at it? Like, I'm not very good at it.
First-person shooters and me are not close cousins. It's not my best day. So, you know, I go in there every once in a while and I go, you know, I'm just not good at this. I really would have to settle down and find some time to like focus and really kind of get the feel of it. You know, and you know, there's so many things going on. It's hard to find the time to kind of lock down that without, you know, we'd have to run like a tournament or a charity stream where I'd just lock me in for like 10 to 12 hours of just playing, and then I'd be halfway decent. But yeah, it's just finding the time to buckle down, and you're trying to create it and play it, and then, you know, do other things and do that. It's just, there's so much going on. It's really tough to knock it down and try to put some time into building that skill, because it's a skill set.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's hard for us. I'm sure Fran as well. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't have time to play the game very often because I'm so busy putting together campaigns or social media posts or whatever, and you could take an entire day and then not even have time to play the game. We work here.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
You know, trying to have any kind of other career with that has got to be hard. So.
Absolutely.
This is it. Right?
And you know, you need to breathe from it when you're not in it, so that you can go back to it and add to it. If you stay in it all the time, you wig out.
This is right. I mean, I could be doing a TikTok right now. See, like, how meta is that? Like, you know. There you go. I mean, this is it, right? Just like, this is like
the world we live in now.
Yeah, right. I mean, what? I got a bit of work done there as well, twice.
You're being very efficient with your time. I love it. All right, here, I'm going to ask something sort of outside of Crime Boss now. And Fran, if you have questions, jump in. I talk a lot.
I'm fascinated, honestly. You keep going. If I have a question, I'll answer questions once you've done, because honestly.
See, but I won't be done. I will just talk and talk and talk and talk until YouTube is like, look, dude, seriously, just.
I am just happy that you're here, Jason. Honestly, I feel like you two need to meet up. Go horse riding.
Well, we found out we're like 3 miles apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not that far from each other, which is awesome, right?
No, we'll set it up. We'll get you in the office. We'll get you some T-shirts. So
yeah,
absolutely,
some swag. So anyways, so we were talking earlier. You are a huge graphic novel fan, and you have now been part of a number of video games. What graphic novel do you think would make a great video game?
Ooh,
tough.
Good question.
You've stumped him. You have stumped him, Jason.
Yes.
Well, it's not a stumping so much as there's so many different ones to kind of, you know, narrow that down. It's like there's so many good graphic novels. I'm trying to think of something that's like we haven't really seen. You know what I mean? Because we see so many different things. And what's a good? I'm literally looking at my shelf for inspiration here.
That is a lot of books, a lot of graphic novels there.
Yeah. You know, the Powers universe, Brian Michael Bennett's Powers universe. That would be interesting because it's kind of a noir-y kind of superhero-esque, pulpy world to do. Like, because you can hit it from so many different angles. You could play a hero, you could play a villain, you could play a detective. You know, and there's so many, the range of different stories you could tell in that arena would be fun. And they're sitting right there conveniently. So, I was like, oh, that would be fun. What is that? the Hellboy universe would be. I don't think there's been any Hellboy video games, have there?
Ooh, a Hellboy video game would be awesome.
Yeah, or just even in a
That would be
BPRD
awesome.
video game. Wouldn't even have to be Hellboy, you just be BPRD.
Yeah.
That would be so much fun to kind of to get in there. What else we got here?
Another
there's so many.
BPRD movie. A video game would be really fun because you could be basically anybody from history.
And you
any
can play
time
any
period.
Yep, and you can play any kind of pulp character. You can create your own character. That would be. There's a lot of fun places to play in there.
Right.
So
I'll talk to our biz dev people. And, yeah.
Make it happen.
If anybody watching wants to get your own video game company to do it, I'll just play that game, and then it's easier. Then I just have to buy it and play it.
Right, you go.
No, it's a good time. So, still on comic books, is there a graphic novel series that you think is just? I mean, I know there's easy answers like Watchmen and V for Vendetta, things like that. But is there sort of like a graphic novel series that you think kind of transcends its genre that you're like, wow, this one really kind of surprised me?
I was a problematic author aside, huge fan of Planetary.
Okay, I've not read that one.
Okay, that's insane.
Is that one
Yeah,
of...
Planetary. It's by Warren Ellis and John Cassaday, and Warren Ellis has unfortunately had some troubling character reveals come out, but the book itself is insanely good.
I want to check it out.
Yeah, I actually have the omnibus that I took off my shelf because of the troubles. But yeah, that's really good. What else is just there's a new one called the Once and Future King. It's a revamp on Arthurian mythology.
Well, there was a book years ago called Once and Future King.
I think it's Once and Future. Yeah, you're talking about is that C.S. Lewis? No? Yeah, right?
I'm not sure. I think so. But
it's Once in Future, but we're just reading it, and it's a revamp on Arthurian mythology. It's a lot of fun. What else is going on that's popping? Black Sad. If you have not read Black Sad,
no.
So good. Oh, so good.
All right,
so good.
I will check it out.
So add those to your list.
You've given Jason the
it
shopping
can be
list.
Overwhelming, right? So you go into your favorite comic book shop. I don't know what your favorite comic book shop is. I go to Earth 2 over in the Sherman Oaks area, and there's so many graphic novels. You just kind of don't even know where to start sometimes. Be overwhelmed.
I've been going to DJ's Universal in Universal DJ's Comics in Studio City.
Oh yeah.
We're going there. I used to live in Studio City. I lived right around the corner from the comic shop. When I moved out to LA, that became my comic shop. So
yeah, you end up when you find your comic book shop, you keep going back there, even if you have to drive an hour.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I mean, to be honest, I could just leave and you just keep going, like have a lovely chat.
No, we're gonna put Fran on the spot.
Honestly,
Fran,
I honestly.
it's your turn.
Oh, I don't want to disturb this wonderful time you're both having.
No, but this could be a wonderful time the three of us could be having. So now you need to ask a question. I'm going to drink water.
I do own graphic novels. It's not like I can't contribute. I just I don't really read too much. But I do appreciate people who do graphic novels. I have a friend / acquaintance. Not really sure which threshold we've crossed yet.
That is, that's an awkward revelation for a live stream.
Right, yeah.
Because that person may watch and be like, wait a minute, I thought we were friends, and you don't know whether we're friends or acquaintances? That's awkward.
I'd like to think we're friends. But yeah, he did one called Wasteland, which is very good. So I'd recommend that if you like post-apocalyptic stuff.
I love post-apocalyptic stuff.
I recommend it.
Love it, love it, love it. It's a graphic novel?
Yeah.
I'm looking it up right now.
It's a good one.
All right, here. I'm going to bring it back to Crime Boss. See, we'll go in and out like a dolphin.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask a Crime Boss question of Fran.
Oh.
Ooh.
It's not about
so
me.
You've been community manager on the game since it launched, and I think since its inception.
Yeah.
What is one of the most sort of like fun things that's happened since you've been on the project?
Fun thing that's happened. I think actually, when we announced it at the Game Awards, I think was probably an amazing thing. It was very fun. Where I met Damion for the first time in real life. It was just a really great time. It was great seeing everyone's reaction to the announced trailer. It was just an amazing atmosphere. I would say it was an amazing time. That's all I can really say. You know,
the Game Awards are always fun to watch, and so to be involved in something that's happening on it, and then to be there. So now I've never actually been to the Game Awards. So I've had projects announced on the Game Awards, and it's cool. And you sit at home and you press the button to launch your social media. But being there's got to be something else.
Yeah, it was really great.
So you were at the Game Awards, Damion?
Yes, sir.
And how was that experience for you? Because you're probably not as much a video game fan as a comic book fan. So the Game Awards is like Comic-Con for video games at this point.
Well, I was at E3 every year. You know, I'm in it, and I'm not new to the game world, so I've been around. So it was cool to see, people that you wouldn't expect to run into. Like E3 didn't happen this year, but it was like a mini behind the scenes E3. When you see all the different people, it's like, from the different companies, and then there was in the lobby of the hotel, there's little like social gathering afterwards, so you get to run into a lot of people that once again it was from different companies and things like that. It's a good time. It's really fun to kind of see what everybody's got coming on or what everybody's revealing and what they're bringing out. So I enjoyed it. I really had a good time. It was my first time. It was my first one too. I said I've been to E3, but I've never been to that. So it was really good times to check that out.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm hoping. I know I have some projects coming out next year and the year after, and so I'm hoping that I get to go launch something and have the Frandroid experience at the Game Awards.
I have my Frandroid. Fingers crossed for you.
So in the game, so back to the writing stuff, because I can't keep my thoughts straight. So everything goes like this.
The stream of consciousness is awesome. Just go.
Yep. Is there any dialogue in the game? And you don't have to remember exact quote, but is there any sort of moment of dialogue that you really like? Either an interaction between two characters or just a pull quote or something like that you remember that you're like, oh yeah, that was awesome.
Yes.
Wait, my follow-up question. I have a follow-up question. What was that?
Wow. You're gonna be specific. Well, here's the thing. Like, it was because when you're doing when we're recording the VO stuff, every time we were in there, we'd have moments with different people. Like, we had a few like hilarious moments with Danny Glover. Obviously, there were hilarious moments with Michael Madsen. And with Mr. Trejo, and so when you start speaking of specifics, like my brain immediately like scatters and scrambles because there's so many funny things and like, okay, was that specific? Did that actually go into the game? Or was that just something So it was, but they were like everybody was a delight to work with. Some of the best lines are actually ad libs, just from what we were, from we're going in and we're talking different things, and then somebody throws it off the cuff. It's kind of like, oh no, it's like no, use that. No, we're definitely like let's throw it in the game and things like that. So it's so much fun, like to create the framework and then see the discoveries. Because you're writing thousands and thousands of lines, literally, and it's easy to get kind of bogged down into the, how many different ways can I say get down on the ground? So when somebody when you're in the session and somebody hits something that's like just like a little, you're like, oh wow! Listen, trying to come up with something specific.
That's right.
Remembering the good times. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure you've.
I mean,
I'm just
Go ahead.
saying. I'm sure you've said so much. You ain't gonna remember much.
Yeah. Blur.
There's one line that I do remember. It's kind of from the start, which is why I remember it the most. And it was it's Baker or Michael Madsen. He's talking about the candy that's been stolen, and your character Nassara basically says, they're blue, basically. And you go, are they blue because they're downers? And Madsen Baker goes, no, because they're effing blue. And he goes, and you go, oh, Brandon. And it just tickles me because you say it so deadpan. And it's just, and I'm just like, it's just funny because it's just so dry.
That's one of the most fun about Nassara is I usually play like fairly, you know, I have a big personality, so I usually play characters with large personality. So to have them just kind of be this level,
Yeah.
like, you know, voice of reason all the way through it's been so much fun to be in that space and find the measured response to all of the insanity
Yeah.
that goes on.
Because you're just like the voice of calm with the craziness
Yes.
around.
so the cast of Crime Boss is remarkable, and so you had the opportunity to like be in there when everybody comes in and do their voiceover. Was a little hard not to geek out to a certain extent, because like I just got to meet Mike Madsen. We did a shoot for a Crime Boss thing, and I'm in there trying not to be like, and I know you're in the business, and for you it's like, oh, famous people, whatever. But is it still kind of like, is this sort of like awesome?
I have an inside voice that will scream and run back and forth in my head to just, do all this stuff that you do. Meanwhile, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. I'm very much looking forward to working. And the geek in me is like, oh my God! So I'm over the years of being on sets and things like that, I've for the most part mastered it where I can have, like I said, my internal voice is running around like a chicken with his head cut off, screaming at the top of its lungs and super excited. And externally, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Like it's to the point where you almost like, does this guy know what I've worked on? I've kind of gotten to that place where I can really just kind of, because I've found that even when people are excited to see me about things I've done, when you treat people like people, they have, it's easier to get a positive interaction going. So I always try to make sure I treat, regardless of who I'm working with or whatever, I come at them from a very regular, normal, hey, how you doing? This is what we're doing, or this is what we have in common space, and kind of found a grounded space to start the interaction. And then if you say something crazy later, it's okay because they know at least that you're grounded. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Thanks. So you've been in some projects, and I have to ask you about man number one in the Avengers.
Yep.
Did you get to go around and tell people thanks?
No. Nope. I had to keep my mouth shut, and then afterwards, every convention in the world called. All of them. And they were like, "We want you here," and being, I don't like to, I know sometimes it's better to apologize and ask permission.
Mm-hmm.
So, but depending on what it is, I'll act differently, and so I asked permission to represent what happened, and I was told no.
Yeah, and you don't want to upset Marvel.
Well, yeah, it's kind of a catch-22, because on the one hand, if you just go ahead and do it, then it's kind of done and there's not anything to be said about it. And on the other hand, if you ask about it and then they say no, then you kind of put yourself in a position. And I knew that was a possibility, but I was like, the like in order to maintain the role, I would have had to have done, had some serious career hits, and that wasn't. I've seen, like for example, Chris Helmsworth got Thor because he was working with Joss on Cabin in the Woods, and he did Star Trek and Cabin in the Woods, and so he was being set up to be Thor. Where I kind of came in out of nowhere, and I didn't have the backing or the setup to the launch, as it were.
Yeah.
So I knew that was like I knew that it was a possibility, but not likely that I could be put in a position to maintain it. And I could have. There were ways you could go about it that would do it in a not as positive way, which would be a begrudging kind of put you there, or there's ways where it could be, where you can be organically, and I was trying for the organic method, and obviously that didn't work out.
Well, I mean, you can never be upset about losing a role to Josh Brolin, right? I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, it's Josh Brolin. Yeah,
he's got some street cred, so.
And when you I'm a huge comic book fan, so the things that they did with him were different enough in the book that I was like, okay, I can walk away from that. The motivation was a lot different in the book than what they did in the film. So I much prefer the book motivation.
Nice.
Because it makes sense. And that's all I have to say about that.
Well, that's good. I wasn't going to push too much, but I'm like, I have to at least ask.
Oh, it's all good.
I love that aspect of it. So, because I remember when it happened, it was like, but all right, I got to talk about friends. That's why we're here. I can't just geek out.
If you don't ask,
I know Fran
you might not get. So while you're here, Jason, and Damien's here.
These things happen.
Exactly.
So in writing on Crime Boss, were there any plots or storylines or anything that didn't make it into the game that either you wish you did, or you're like, no, that was one that I'm glad we didn't do, or were you able to kind of fit in, or at least tweak everything to get in the ideas that you had?
Oh no, so there's still a lot that hasn't been. I'll say revealed. There's still plenty of meat on the Crime Boss bone, as it were, to unlock and unwrap and things like that. Mm-hmm. So some things made more sense to hold off on than others. There was a lot of expansion that made our timetable different than we anticipated. Which affected how things were put together. So yeah, there's still quite a bit to be revealed about what we have in the toolbox for Crime Boss and for Rockay City. There were some things that were like, man, it's not gonna work out. We should just scrap that. But for the most part, it's all still in play. I think I managed to do that without.
Okay, here, I don't know if this is a question we can answer. I'm going to ask Fran about this. Sharky Gaming is asking if there's a time frame for the first update. Is it free or paid DLC? And I don't know if you have any roadmap suggestions.
I mean, so everything is on the roadmap. I'm just grabbing the roadmap quickly. So the roadmap is available on www.visitRockayCity.com, so you can see it there, but I'm just grabbing it now. So I've gone too far. I'm just trying to acquire it so I can read off of it. Basically, the roadmap shows all of basically it's a big timeline. It shows you where all the DLCs, free updates, but also the quarters that they're going to come in as well. So there's going to be an update coming, which is a free update. Then you'll get paid weapon pack, and then there'll be a paid expansion pack, for example. So, and that's going to be like Q3 of 2023. This is all on the roadmap, so I shared one.
Visit RockayCity.com.
Yep, it's on there. I've shared one on the Crime Boss Twitter as well. So you'll be able to, if you scroll, you'll be able to find it on there. But I would definitely just recommend going to the website because it's all there. And then it's the way that the roadmap's laid out. It's a bit like a board where it's marked out in pins, so you can see it like sort of, and it the way it travels, and it goes all the way to like 2024. So I mean, I hope that answers your question. It sort of, it shows all the, basically shows what you're asking, I think.
So now I forgot the question I was about to ask you. How do you think writing and planning out plot and characters for video game differs from television, movies? What do you have to really do different?
Well, you have to realize that it's the spider web of it all, the multiple choice of the if then of it all, because depending on what happens with the characters, like another character can greatly influence and change what happens in another, two very disparate characters can greatly influence each other's stories by what they do or where they are in their story. So there's a kind of a much more expansive, like having a good backstory for one of these characters is really good, because then you can much more easily make informed decisions about how a changed circumstance than what you originally planned plays out. Because it's like, okay, well, in a television series or a book or anything else you're writing, it's linear, completely linear. You get to choose exactly what happens to exactly which character, exactly when. When you start dealing with multiple characters, if this character doesn't do this character isn't aware of that, so this doesn't happen. So then this is happening over here so planning out that, and this is, I'm very, very new to this, so that was not my job, was to build all the stories so that we can figure out where they go. But just looking and starting to kind of get your head around what that entitles, what that entails, is really, really, like, it's a different animal. It's a serious animal, and it's quite fun once you kind of start to get your head around it. But there is a definite learning curve of this is not it. But all roads lead to here. But how they get there is very, and you kind of have to try to account for each situation that may take place as you're trying to get there, and realize that, okay, there's certain things you aren't going to be able to get to because this is a choke point. This doesn't happen, this won't happen. Like a choose your own adventure book.
Yeah.
Like those old schools. So it's a very different medium, and it's very interesting to play in it and kind of put your head into that interactive storytelling mode.
And do you feel like it helps you flex different narrative muscles?
Absolutely. Because instead of just possibilities, they become things that happen. When you're writing a linear storyline, all the possibilities approach you, and then you say, okay, well, since I want this, I won't go to that, or this is not going to happen, because you kind of play around with that aspect. When there's interactive, you have to say, okay, if that does happen, how do we still get back to here? Do we get back to there, or do we do something else? So it's a very interesting kind of mode of just allowing yourself more fingers, more feathers, more webbing as you put together the different story arcs and things like that. And it helps when you go back to linear storyline, because now you become more adapted to the possibilities and moving yourself into different ways to get where you originally wanted to get.
Very nice. So as a big comic book fan, you know, you have the opportunity to be in the Flash, and so Flash it's a very interesting
TV series,
show.
not the movie. Be specific.
Yes, sorry. TV series on WB as Goldface. I know you were in, I think, 2 or 3 episodes of that. Oh, you were in 6 episodes. Oh, all right, 6 episodes.
Get it right,
what was
Jason.
that experience like, being able to like be in this comic book universe, you know, as a character like that?
It was awesome. I had so much fun. You know, it was just, well, the cast and the crew are all awesome. Grant is like, he's one of my favorite number ones. You know, he was very, very cool. I actually did as many episodes as I did because, you know, several of the cast members were like, hey, we like playing with that guy, you know, you guys want to bring him back. So that was cool. And this, you know, it was just very welcoming. They've been, by the time I even got there, it was season 5, so they were a well-oiled machine in terms of how to get you in, how to welcome you in, and talk to you, and things like that. And you know, also bringing that new energy in was fun because they've been doing it for 5 years, so they're in their space, and I'm coming in, and my new energy was actually welcomed. You know, because I always try to work to help and play and enhance this place I'm in. Not, you know, I'm not trying to, like, I want to make the project better. I'm not necessarily trying to, you know, it's all about the storytelling. So you want to make the story better. And it's like, what can I bring to the story that makes it more fun and more engaging? So they were very, very open to that. I didn't feel shut down. I didn't feel, you know, like I was being like too imposing when I would ask for things or say, hey, what if we try this? Or what if we do this? Or things like that. And you know, when it was possible, we did it. When it wasn't, we moved on. But it was never, like, yeah, I've been on some sets where it's very, very like strict, very tight, very, you know, come in, do this, get out.
Yeah, well,
that
and
was not
television, the schedule for a television shoot is usually very, very, compared to a movie where you can, on a movie,
right.
Hey, we've got 3 days for this one scene. And TV, we're going to shoot half the show today. So
right. Yeah,
it's nice to have that opportunity to be able to, you know, give and take.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's sort of the same kind of give and take we talked about in the voiceover for Crime Boss, being able to, you know, go back and forth and figure it out.
The collaborative creative experiences are always better for me, in my experience, than the more restrictive ones. But then I haven't been a part of a lot of restrictive ones that were like really planned out and placed. You know, the restricted ones I've been in have been coming from a place of less of determination and more of restrictions. If that makes any sense.
No,
you know?
makes total sense. I have to say, by the way, in the chat, Jorge Hernandez says he's been playing the game with his wife, and she loves your voice in the game.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
I mean,
it was an evolution to find Nasara's voice too. That was a lot of fun of exactly, you know, where we wanted it to end up and how we wanted him to sound, and you know, the words he chooses. It was all very, very, a very fun evolution to develop.
I tell you what we could do, Damion. Would you be up for some ASMR with Nasara? I reckon that could go down really well.
You could do like a bedtime story. I know my wife likes to listen to those Calm app stories where they just kind of talk. We should have Nasara.
We should definitely do the Nasara one. That'd be hilarious. We'll figure that out.
We should try it now and see if it works. What should we have you say?
Well, it has to be Nasara tucking you in at night, telling you to like you lay down, relax, and fall asleep.
Come then.
Like, the day is coming to a close. It's time to rest. I would need some time because he speaks so specifically. I have to warm up into his voice. You know what I mean? Because it's
probably talk about the temperature of the room.
Right.
It's 8:06 o'clock at night. It's the perfect time to go to sleep.
Well, no, he was on military time. He probably say 16.
Okay, we can work on this.
Yeah, we definitely. So this is something. Let me either right after a voice session, or we sit down and work on it and work up to it, because that's, like I said, he's so specific that it's.
Yeah. Okay.
We can have a whole side project of just blind boss bedtime stories, and I'm all in for it.
We will make this happen.
Awesome.
So you talked about developing the voice for Nisara. Which character do you think changed the most from the initial idea on paper, and then evolved to be very different from that initial concept?
Okay, who's out? Silver.
Yeah.
Silver changed quite a bit. Yep. She wasn't originally indigenously. She wasn't originally indigenous Australian. So she went through a lot of changes. Who else went through? I had a lot of influence on X. And then who else? But for the most part, like, and where things really changed was where the character was either less defined or a little too in the 90s space, where it was like, that's not gonna fly, that was a little too much.
Yeah.
It's a little too 90s. So there was a few that were open that was like, okay, this is kind of the broad idea, get in there and flesh it out. So obviously that altered quite a bit. And then, like I said, when some were a little too stuck in the 90s, I either had to change it or figure out how to make it make sense to the character. So,
now, dude, you said there was a lot of collaboration in the voiceover. Did any of the actors kind of shift a direction? Just their performance was either funnier than you anticipated or more serious? Is there any characters that once you got into the VO booth changed just because the actor brought something really unique to it?
Yeah, I'd say, wow, name is escaping me right now. Cracker was his voiceover was like it was interesting because you're listening to the auditions, and sometimes even in the audition you go, oh wait, and then you pull off something off the audition. But a lot of most of the characters, once we did a session, had at least some level of evolution. When we heard different things that they said that we really liked, or different things that they emphasized, it was like, ooh, that's fun. We should lean into that. So there was absolutely, and even in session sometimes we would have people lean into, something else and be like, let's do more of that, or hit that again, and things like that, or give me, a lot of times like that. And on a couple of occasions, especially with the very specific dialogue and the very, the slang, getting the how do you say that? Colloquialisms? Colloquialisms. Correctly.
Yes.
Yeah, colloquialisms correctly. We actually had some of the people who were voicing assist us in the writing. So there was a lot of different things like that happened, where like we would alter things and move forward. And we really wanted to make sure that as much as possible the voices were authentic to what we were presenting.
Nice. Very exciting. I know that we're kind of we're wrapped up on time. Fran, did you have any final questions?
I don't have any questions. I think blurring in and out. I think Jason, I think you may have covered them all actually. And several additional.
I'm so excited about, like, when I first heard about it internally, I was like, what?
I know,
really?
right?
Awesome.
I mean,
so So to be able to geek out and ask some of these questions.
Well, I mean, you've got obviously the lovely Damion here in that box over there. And then you got like Chuck Norris just in it, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, what's not to geek
Chuck
out?
Norris? That happened?
Just throw Chuck Norris in there as well. Why not? Cheeky Chuck Norris in there, you know. Yeah. So what's not to geek out, right? You know, I think we're allowed a bit of a geek out.
Right.
I mean, normally I usually like to play a bit of a game on my streams of Would You Rather. But
I'm really worried now.
but do you know what? I've forgotten to do it. So
We'll do it next time. We'll do it next time.
I have a quick one question. Would you rather?
go on then.
Desert Island. Would you rather be stuck with your comic book collection or your book collection?
Ooh. I have more comic books than I do books, so I go with comics.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. This assumes a desert island with a humidity control, you know.
Right, but it's yeah, absolutely.
like the fancy hotels in Bora Bora. So there, I think we have asked as many questions as we should humanly ask.
Yeah, well, good job, Jason. You did my job for me. Yeah, I know. I appreciate you just talking.
It's what I do. You can ask my wife. It's a problem. So I'm happy that I get to be here and get paid to do what drives her crazy at home. So it all works out. But mostly we appreciate Damon.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for coming on the stream today and chatting with us.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Yeah, let's do it again soon.
Oh yeah, happily do it, and I happily do it in this format as well because it's chill, it's stress-free. We'll get.
And you don't have to play online so people can see how badly you shoot.
It's true. We can maybe get a Damion ASMR session going on.
I bedtime stories from Rockay City. I think this is an audio collection that would be amazing. We'll write it. We're gonna make it
OMG, that needs to happen.
Absolutely.
The bedtime stories from Rockay City, as read by Damion Poitier. Poitier.
Poitier, yep.
You know, because it can be, you know, I can't remember the movie. It's like, oh, that's the evil creature that like criminals tell their kids about, right? And so this would be bedtime stories from the criminal underworld. It's like, oh, we'll pop in tomorrow. We're gonna rob a bank. So. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we're gonna.
Amazing.
Well.
All right.
Well, we're going. While we make that happen, we will say goodbye to everyone watching our stream. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us today, and thank you everybody for watching.
Thanks so much, everyone.